Good evening and welcome to Channel 8 Sports and East Brunswick High School football, where tonight the Bears take on the Sayreville Bombers and close out their 1986 high school season. Joining me once again is Jim Allinder and Phil Hill. And Jim, you've covered Sayreville this week and you're quite familiar with the team. Quite honestly, do they have a chance tonight?
Tough question. I think we are in for a carbon copy of last week's game in which East Brunswick won 28-0. Sayreville's season can best be described as being frustrating. They had a rather good season last year, even though their record was 4-5. But the problem surfaced in that people that were supposed to produce this year either were injured or they didn't come through. Primary loss has been the quarterback, John Kolkowski. He's gone for the year, has been replaced by Brian Dole, who we'll see this evening. But the coach, Milt Theodosatis, says that Brian's learning, but he's learning by his mistakes. They have had trouble with pass defense. East Brunswick is a passing team if they want to be. And all in all, I see a lot of problems for Sayreville this evening.
Okay, Phil, on the East Brunswick side, last week was, a game plan that you draw up on the board and then you hope that you execute some of it. East Brunswick executed all of it. Now they come in here against a less talented opponent. What's their
really shouldn't be much different this week. I mean, John, this is the last game for a number of seniors. Coach Borden has said that if the seniors can win tonight, their record for 3 years will be 24-6. So they have some incentive. They have the alumni players coming back tonight. That's going to be more incentive. I think East Brunswick really wants to finish up really well. They want to show some people around that even though they're not in the state playoffs, they've beaten several teams that probably will be in the state playoffs, and give people something to think about for next year.
Okay, I don't think there's much more that we can say other than the fact that East Brunswick is looking to finish out at 6-2-1 record. Sayreville, another developing program, doesn't seem to be much competition, but we'll see because the teams are coming out now to the field. So let's go down to the action. Well, we're just about ready for the start of the East Brunswick-Sayreville game, the last game of the season for the Bears, on a rather chilly Friday evening here at J. Doyle Field. Jimmy and Phil, how you guys handling the cold thus far?
We're ready.
Maybe we'll go back to day football towards the end of the season. What do you think?
It's a thought, I'll tell you.
Yeah. John, I was looking over statistics compiled by Bill Munyon on the season for East Brunswick. Probably the most notable stat is Brian Forte's passing this year. He has completed 86 passes in 168 attempts for a 5.12 average, and I think for a sophomore quarterback to achieve that sort of completion percentage really speaks well for him. We all know what a quality quarterback he is, and I don't know, Phil, I have a feeling that Marcus Borden, East Brunswick coach, may let Forte air it out tonight. This is the last game of the season.
Well, why shouldn't they? As you point out, Jimmy, it is the last game of the season. You have 14 seniors here on this team that really want to play their very best, and I think the rest of the team wants to support them. And they've been very versatile and done a lot of things, and I think for the last game they want to leave the fans with something to remember them by until next year comes. So I look for them to do a lot of different things. I look for them to have a lot of fun.
Okay, rushing statistics this year. Leading ball carrier is Mark Harmon, who has had 427 yards in 80 attempts. Next is Bill Brunig with 353 yards, 54 attempts. And those two gentlemen are averaging both over 5 yards per carry. That's an impressive stat. And receiving, we all know that Ken Pruss is the top pass catcher this year. He has 33 for an average of 15.9, 3 touchdowns. And Harmon is the second leading pass receiver, 13 for 121 yards.
All right, Sayreville has won the toss and will receive. They're in the visitors' white jerseys. As you know, East Brunswick is in the home or green jerseys, and they'll be moving left to right on your screen. Sayreville, Jimmy, I noticed brought out a number of captains with red headbands.
Yeah, Milt Theodosatis is very imaginative with firing his team up, and firing his team up would be a good idea tonight to get warm. But beyond that, he likes to throw a little twist into the game. I think we mentioned last week on the tail end of the Cedar Ridge one that he calls this group the Flying Tigers. But they're going to have to do something because they're hurting with some injuries. Besides Glukowski, the quarterback, Walt Wyckoff, the center, was lost for the season. And the person that we should most watch, Buddy Jennings, don't have his number right offhand. Let's see. Buddy Jennings, number 28. Depending on, he's normally the person back deep on the kickoffs, and if he's not back there and we don't see him, East Brunswick's going to be in, Sayreville's going to be in trouble.
Let me mention that Josh Miller will be kicking off. He's wearing jersey number 9. Apparently he misplaced his number 6 jersey. So that is Josh Miller with the unfamiliar number 9. And he's about ready to get this game underway.
Number 33. And Jason Ellison, number 7.
And it's a low kick. Fielded by Sayreville at the 10. And it's fumbled away. We'll see who has it. It's East Brunswick. Ball is around the 24-yard line, and the Bears take over on the fumble on the kickoff.
Phil, I was going to ask you, with the weather so cold tonight, does that have, does it do anything to the ball? Does it make it harder to handle?
Well, certainly, Jimmy. When your hands are cold, the ball seems to be like a rock. And early on, until you get warmed up and the adrenaline flowing, it could be tough going. A bad break for Sayreville this early, though.
All right, the Bears come out. 1st and 10 on the Sayreville 24. Fortes at quarterback. Backfield with him is Brunig, and this is Harmon in motion. Ryan's going to throw on the 1st down. He's being pressured. He gets away, dumps the ball off, throws it in the dirt, actually. He's looking for a Hoyt, number 4.
Well, again, John, Ryan Forte has showed his great strength. I keep talking about it, but for a sophomore, the guy had him sacked for a loss. He sort of ripped the guy off him and got the ball off and saved his team from losing yardage.
Yeah, that was 71 Gary Pearson. He is one of the 2, actually 3 linemen that Theodosidis mentions as being a quality player. The other 2 is Chuck Smith and Jason Ellison. We're going to watch Jason Ellison. He's the defensive end, number 84 on your screen. I suspect East Brunswick's going to run from the other side from him. He's a quality player.
All right, 2nd and 10 for the Bears. Game's just underway. East Brunswick recovered a fumble on the opening kickoff and are at the Sayreville 24. Brunig off the left side. And Brunig fumbled the ball, and it's picked up by Sayreville, so we've had exchange of fumbles.
There you go.
Well, it's like you pointed out, Jimmy. It is cold out here, take my word, and that ball, it just gets harder. And if your fingertips can't get a good feel for it, you think you got the ball and you get hit and all of a sudden it's popped out. We've seen it happen for each team now.
Okay, running backs. Go ahead, John. I'll catch this on the next play.
All right, Sayreville will have it at 1st and 10 on their own 17. Handoff. Doyle's at quarterback.
Bill Brunig just laid him out. A solid hit by the junior.
That was Jeff Nagel, 22. He's one of the top running backs for Sayreville, along with Ed Mish and Chuck Heiss. And Brian Dawes, the quarterback.
All right, it'll bring up a 2nd and 9. The ball at the Sayreville 18-yard line. We're going to have movement against Sayreville, I believe.
There's a flag on the play.
And it is against Sayreville. Now moving back 5 yards.
I see that kid that you talked about for Sayreville, Oriole Jennings. He's wearing number 88 this game, not number 28. So we might keep our eyes on him.
Yeah, he is definitely a game breaker.
In the 2nd down and 14.
Let's call it 2nd and about 14 for the Bombers. This is their first offensive possession of the game. Dole looking to throw. A flag has been thrown. He's looking out here for Jennings.
Pass out to the left side.
Brunig on the coverage. Let's see what the penalty is.
There's a flag on the play.
I noticed immediately, John, that there was one-on-one coverage with Brunig, about 5'4", covering Jennings, who's 6'3". I think Sayreville may try to exploit that a lot tonight.
Well, Sayreville, they tried on that play to do a down, out, and up. Bill Brunig was not fooled, but the pattern wasn't run that well neither.
All right, apparently the penalty is against Sayreville as they talk to Ken Pruss, the captain. We have a motion penalty against Sayreville. It's going to be declined. It'll bring up third now and about 14 for the Bombers.
To run a pattern like that, the guy has to think you're going to go into the sideline. Bill Brunig did not take Jennings' fake because it wasn't a good fake.
Third down and 14.
All right, the Bombers are on their own 13 with a big third down play. Dole's going to throw. He's looking to the outside. Throws wide, looking for 84, his tight end, Matt Fulham.
Well, I guess that series is certainly evidence that Sayreville doesn't possess a quality passing game. Dole was 11 for 20 last week for 158 yards against J.P. Stevens, but that was mostly in the second half when Stevens had already won the game convincingly.
For the Bears, we have Brunig and Pruss.
We want to look for our resident block punter here, number 40, Rick Okun. He's always near the ball anytime the opposing team tries to punt it. Let's see.
Okay, this will be Lake to do the punting for Sayreville. Gets off a kick. Brunig is back. He's going to field it. And he fumbles the ball again. I think Ken Pruss was able to fall on it, though, for the Bears. Let's see. Yes, he did. So East Brunswick will have it at midfield. So Billy Brunig having a little trouble holding on to the ball.
Well, it's just mechanics, John. Anytime you're going to catch a punt, what you want to do, you want to run to the spot, set yourself, then catch it. You cannot try to catch the ball while you're on the run. If you do, you're going to make a mistake. Add the coldness to this, to that, and then you got real problems.
All right, the ball is just shy of midfield. The Bears will have it first and 10. Forte drops back. Has to move out of the pocket. He's got his man. That's DeVito. But DeVito's going to be short a yard. In fact, he's going to lose a yard, rather, from the line of scrimmage.
A loss about a yard.
Well, a nice play, and they lose a yard on it. Again, I'd like to point out the receiver coach, Jerry Janczek, is responsible for those kids catching the ball while they slide. He works with them very hard on it. That was an example.
Second and 11. The ball is now at the East Brunswick 48. 8:43 to go in the first period, and we have no score. This is Brunig on the pitch. Brunig fights his way, picks up about 5 yards. And he's crossed midfield into the Sayreville territory.
Well, we've come to expect a good hard running by Bill Brunig. He put his nose down. He didn't do his spin that time because he didn't have an opportunity, but picked up good yardage.
It'll bring up a third and about 4 for the Bears.
It'll be third down and 3.
Forte pitches. This is Harmon, right side. Mark slips and is taken down at about the 45. So the Bears will lose about 2 yards in that play.
That was Chuck Heisey, the running back, playing defensive back also, who made that tackle. Nice play.
Yeah, Jim, that's a play we haven't seen since the beginning of the year, where they spread everybody wide and then pitch back to the wide side to Harmon.
Well, the Bears will face a fourth down, and Forte goes into punt formation. Low snap. Forte gets off a low kick. Nagel's looking at it, and he's going to let it go. It's going to be down around the 9-yard line.
Another fine kick by Brian Forte. He is really turning into a top-notch punter as well as a quarterback.
But you better believe it, kicking that ball is like kicking a brick right now.
All the more reason for that to be considered a good kick.
And Vic Asline.
So Sayreville starts off again in poor field position, deep in their own territory. Their first drive started on their own 17. This one will be on their own 9. Dole hands off. That was Nagel on the carry.
Good running by the Sayreville back that time. Picking his spots and picked up good yardage.
See John Massoni limping off the field. He's a weak side linebacker for East Brunswick.
All right, Nagel picks up the first down, so it'll be a 1st and 10 at the 20. That's Heisey. I'd like to mention that Chuck Heisey, his mother teaches at East Brunswick High School.
Oh, wow.
So I guess she's a little bit torn here as to who to root for.
We had the Novaks combining on that tackle that time, Dave and Larry.
All right, 2nd down on the Bomber 22. Let's call it 2nd and about 8. Dole fakes, looking to throw, outside, looking for Heisey, but overthrown. Rather Nagel it was for.
And Dole was forced to pass maybe a little bit too soon. I think number 33, Schaefer, came in there and gave him a lick.
That was Matt Miller, I believe.
Okay.
All right, so the Bombers face a 3rd and 8. They have yet to have any field position with 5:37 to go in the first period, no score. Dole looking to pass is going to be sacked.
Is that Miller again?
That's Matt Miller, number 46, and he also has a jersey problem tonight.
I think somebody played some Halloween tricks on the Bears.
All right, the ball will be spotted at the Sayreville 14 after that sack by Miller, and they'll be forced to punt once again.
You're right. That was Miller. The tackle before was Dave Novak, number 38.
All right, Lake will do the punting. We have a single setback now for the Bears, and it's Pruss. Heavy rush on Lake. He just gets the ball off.
And they have a flag.
Flag, we may have roughing the kicker. Pruss lets the ball bound around. It'll be down at midfield.
You called it, John. East Brunswick wanted to take the chance to go for the block. Ball being kicked out of the end zone, and it just didn't work.
Personal foul, roughing the kicker against the Bears. That'll be an automatic 1st down for Sayreville, and they'll get the ball back.
A real unfortunate break for East Brunswick. What happened was the young player went directly at the punter, and he hit him straight on, rather than trying to go for the ball.
I guess we should mention that tonight's game will be the last one. I know you set it up on top, John, but the Bears are eliminated from the playoffs.
All right, so Sayreville with a 1st and 10 on their own 28. Dole, caught in the backfield, is going to be dropped for a loss. And there are about 6 Bears on top of him.
We haven't been keeping statistics on Sayreville, but I think it's pretty obvious that Theodosatis wants to throw on East Brunswick, Phil.
I think he's probably ready to pull out all the stops as well. You know, as I said, it's not Sayreville's last game. They have one more game, I believe.
Who are they playing?
I believe the Mighty Rams, I believe they are.
Well, I don't know how mighty they are this year.
All right, Sayreville is on their own 24, 2nd and 14. Dole drops back. It's a draw play. That's Ed Mish with the carry.
And Sayreville seems to have a little bit of success with that misdirection. So they find themselves in a position to get a 1st down here. That's an interesting thing, Phil. A Group 4 team like Sayreville playing a Group 1 club like South River. I know the rivalry's still there, but maybe we can talk about that for just, in a second.
Well, I don't know if East Brunswick fans care to hear about it, Jim, but it's a traditional rivalry, so it doesn't make much difference.
Sayreville now faces a 3rd and 6. The ball on their own 32. And Dole looks to throw again. He's got his man outside. It may be enough for the first down. Number 15, Jeff Fallick.
I'll tell you, it is enough for a first down, but you got to like the tackle by Bill Brunegg. That was a one-on-one in the open field. Brunegg made a picture book tackle and brought the man down, even though he did gain first down.
All right, that'll put the ball at the Sayreville 39, 1st and 10. We have no score with 2:50 to go in the first period. East Brunswick against Sayreville. Dole, a handoff to Heisey. Heisey will pick up maybe a yard or two.
You know, Sayreville has some big people down there on the front line. Smith, one of the tackles, is 5'11", 244, and Pearson is 6'3", 240. I don't know if Bob Howardson's in there, but he's about 6'6", 270. Wow. So they have some size.
2nd and 9 now for the Bombers. Little wishbone pitch action. Dole, and it was carried by Fallick.
Well, it was executed well, but it didn't fool the East Brunswick defense, however.
Bring up a 3rd and 6 for the Bombers. The ball is on their own 41. They have yet to get into East Brunswick territory. We're down to 1:40 in the first period. No score, East Brunswick and Sayreville. Dole gonna throw. He drops back, looking over to his right side. I think he's got his man. No, the ball was dropped. Looking for Nagel, but Nagel couldn't hold on to it.
Well, John, I see Scott Beanie, the assistant coach, has relinquished his shorts, finally. He's wearing, I don't know what, they're cut off about the thigh. Or, excuse me, the ankles.
He's more of a man than we are, let me say that. All right, Sayreville in punt formation. East Brunswick now drops back Pruss and Brunegg. No rush this time. Lake takes his time, gets off a nice kick, a fair catch called by Pruss. It'll be spotted just short of the 30-yard line, the East Brunswick 30, and that's where the Bears will take over.
You're right, John. East Brunswick chose not to rush that time, and the Sayreville punter picked it up and just took his time until his men got down there and punted the ball.
Yeah, Lake's been doing a good job on the punt. You know, in the first punt, he kicked from his end zone out to past the missed field stripe, and then he got the rough in the kicker. So he's doing a good job.
All right, the Bears, 1st and 10 on their own 30. Minute 17 to go in the first period. Hyman goes in motion. This is DeVito up the middle, and he's tripped up. He'll pick up a yard. Now the clock is running. We're down to 50 seconds now. No wind to speak of tonight, but some bitter cold. 2nd and 10 for the Bears. Pruss goes in motion as Forte rolls to his right. Looking downfield, he's got Pruss all by himself. No one around him. Kenny Pruss is going to go for the score. Touchdown, East Brunswick. No one was near Ken Pruss. He had 15 yards on his nearest Sayreville defender, and Brian Forte laid it in there beautifully.
Yeah, that was a blown assignment, to say the least. Bob Ploth, 42, I believe, was the man that was supposed to cover on that play, and Kenny just sort of waltzed out in front of everybody, and Brian fortunately saw him.
All right, so with 24 seconds to go before the end of the first period, Pruss scores for the Bears. Josh Miller on to add the extra point. High snap, the kick is up, and it's good, and East Brunswick goes out in front 7-0.
And that is Pruss's 4th touchdown reception of the season.
And Jimmy, I tell you, with that touchdown reception, Kenny Bruss has just tied the school record for career receptions with 9. He tied Barry Flanagan.
This is touchdown receptions?
Touchdown receptions for the career.
So Brian Forte to Kenny Pruss covers 70 yards for East Brunswick's first score.
Josh Miller will kick off for East Brunswick Bears.
Big game tonight over at Old Bridge, Vince Lombardi Field, Madison Central hosting J.P. Stevens. At stake is probably the Red Division Greater Middlesex Conference Championship.
We knew your mind would be on that, Jimmy. We figured out you're partial to several coaches around here. Of course, the Madison Central coach is one, and this coach here, Theodatus, I also happen to know that you're partial to him, too.
Well, not partial, but you know, you cover these teams and you talk to these gentlemen week in and week out. You get to know them. And I'll tell you what, I feel a little for Mild over there on the sidelines because he's fighting a bronchitis.
So are we. And here goes Josh Miller. Fine kick. Going to be fielded at the 9-yard line by Nagel. Nagel comes up the middle and he's got a fine run back.
Good tackle by John Flynn there.
Nagel brings it up to the 35-yard line.
By the way, I was off on Jason Ellison. He's number 7 tonight for Sayreville. And by the way, Nagel impresses me, Phil.
He's a good-looking running back. He really is.
He's just a junior.
Wow.
So the Bombers start off with their best field position of the night. 1st and 10 from their own 35. Dole still has it. He pitches back to Heisey. Heisey's dropped for a loss, and that'll end the first period.
Takes down number 34, Phil Bouchard. That's the end of the first quarter.
And with the end of the quarter, there's a Sayreville man down. That's Ed Mish.
He is, of course, one of the running backs.
Nice tackle on that last play. Did you get the number, Jim?
No, I didn't. One thing I've noticed, Phil, about Sayreville this year, they seem to play rather spirited ball as long as they are even or ahead. But once they get behind, they seem to, I don't know if it's panic or become a little disorganized. And that's just a problem that maybe comes from inexperience. A lot of the players on Sayreville's team this year are young, as are East Brunswick's, and they will benefit by the experience. There's another thing. There has been some rumors that Theodatus would be stepping down after this season. He tells me, without a doubt, he will be back next year.
Well, I'll tell you, well, that's good for the Sayreville program. You got to wonder how Milt feels, though. He left a Bishop Bard team, and since he's left them, I think they've been in 3 state playoffs since that time, and they've had great teams since that time. You got to wonder how he's feeling.
Well, again, knowing Milt, he's a guy who likes a challenge. Everywhere he's gone, he's been in Plainfield. He's in his 26th season, I believe. Bishop Bar, every team he has coached, or every program, he has brought it up to a winning level. And this is his, I believe, 4th season at Sayreville, and thus far he doesn't have a winning record. I just got to believe he's chomping at the bit because there are a lot of quality student athletes at Sayreville that choose not to come out for the program. It's a common problem in high school football, and I think if they can just generate a couple of, wins, they're going to get those kids out for the team.
Well, they got to do it on the lower levels then. You can't just wait till you get into high school and develop a program. It has to be done like it's done here in East Brunswick. They have to develop it on the Pop Warner levels.
All right, they take Ed Mish off the field, and we hope it's not serious. Sayreville now facing a 2nd and 11 on their own 29. Dole looking to throw, and underthrows his man. So that'll bring up 3rd and 11.
All right, Miller on the forcing Dole to throw it hurriedly.
If you just joined us, I'm John Meggiolaro. I'm being joined by Jim Allinder and Phil Hill. This is the final game of East Brunswick's 1986 high school season. We have 11:55 to go before halftime. The Bears are in front 7-0 on a 70-yard pass play from Forte to Pruss. Sayreville is facing a 3rd and 11, the ball on their own 34. And Dole drops straight back. Throwing out to the sideline, looking for Jennings. Is it caught? It is caught. Wow. Fine reception.
Pass out there to the left side.
That's Buddy Jennings, the talented athlete for Sayreville. He's going to make himself quite known during the basketball season.
Well, you know where they stole him from, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
They stole him from South River. He played for South River a couple years ago and was a good basketball player as a sophomore. Then he transferred to Sayreville.
Yeah, that's right. You got to watch what you say about stealing him.
All right, so that gives the Bombers a first down in East Brunswick territory, the first time they've been in Bear territory tonight. This is Heisey with the ball. Sorry, that was Nagel on the carry. Having trouble picking up the numbers because of the white jerseys. So I ask that you bear with me.
38-yard line.
Second and 4 for the Bombers. Dole on a quick handoff. That was Nagel once again.
Hey, gentlemen, something maybe that may have been lost on some people, but East Brunswick has not allowed a point to be scored here at J. Doyle Field since the Madison game.
Is that correct?
Yeah, they've shut out Woodbridge and Cedar Ridge in the 2 succeeding games here.
Phil, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
We have some time on the field. There was a timeout called. Senior year, your last game, it's got to be a special time and a sad time in a way.
It's a very sad time, emotional time. You know this time is going to come sooner or later, but when it gets here, it's still sort of a shock to your system. You just to realize that you will not be playing high school football again, and let's face it, for a lot of these players, they will not be playing organized football again after this year. So it's a very special time for them today.
I can tell you this much: Borden prides himself on being in contact with as many college coaches, no matter whether it's Division I, II, or III. So I have to think that a number of the players are going to have an opportunity to go on and play football in college.
All right, Sayreville with the 3rd and 3 on the East Brunswick 37. They trail 7-0. This is Heisey with the ball. He's got the first down. A fumble in the pile up, and East Brunswick's got it. So the Bears come away with a turnover.
That looks like Miller on the bottom of that. Okay, Pruss was the one that was holding the ball, so give it to him.
I didn't see the ball pop out, quite honestly. So the Bears will take over as they stop a Sayreville drive. 1st and 10, it'll be spotted on the East Brunswick 33. The Bears are out in front, 7-0. Forte to Harmon. Harmon will get to the line of scrimmage.
And the turnovers at key times have always been Sayreville's problem this year. Number of times they've had some fairly decent teams on the ropes for a while, but just when it looks like they're putting something together, they produce the costly turnover.
It'll be 2nd down and 10. The ball still located on the...
Seems like a very slow pace tonight. And I'm sure the weather has something to do with that. All right, the Bears are facing a 2nd and 10. Harmon actually picked up no yardage. Pass out to Pruss. He's going to be close to the first down.
Very close.
Just a quick toss out there from Forte to Pruss. I think we're going to get a measurement. Yeah, we'll have a timeout.
I think he has this one. I'm going to call it.
While we do have a timeout, I'd like to take a moment and just read off the names of those seniors who are playing their last game here tonight. Jeff Hoyt, Mark Badalio, Ken Pruss, John Massoni, Rob Schaefer, Ed Jimenez, Dave Novak, Rick Oken, Mark Korab, Lilette Badlamania, I hope I pronounced that close, Paul Kazagian, Scott Brenowitz, Ted Pazinko, and Larry Novak. And to each of those young men, we here at Channel 8 say thank you. All right, the Bears pick up the first down. The ball is at their own 44, 1st and 10, 9:27 to go in the second period. Harmon. And Harmon scoots his way for about 5 yards.
Good running.
Now East Brunswick seems to be loosened up a little bit now. Their offense, as Marcus has done all year, rotates Harmon and Brunig at the running back position.
I tell you, if you're a running back in this type of weather, you don't really appreciate that. You want to stay in there and be formed.
All right, 2nd and 5 for the Bears, right at midfield. Forte looking over the middle. He's got his man.
That's Jeff Hoyt.
Number 4, Jeff Hoyt.
What a... It's gotten to be commonplace now, but what a nice throw by Brian Forte.
It really was a nice throw. From our vantage point, it appeared that Sayreville saw that it was going to be thrown to Hoyt.
And he put it on the money.
Just drilled it right in there.
1st and 10. Ball now on the Sayreville 38. East Brunswick leading 7-0 and marching once again. This is Harmon trying to get outside, gets a block, he turns the corner. Mark Harmon, one man, has got an angle. Harmon, touchdown, 38 yards.
And if you watch that play, you'll notice that Mark followed his blockers just right. He could have cut inside on that, but saw the opening on the outside and just used his speed to go down the sidelines for the touchdown.
Let me say, Larry Novak threw a block and took out 2 Sayreville defenders.
Good point, John. Just an all-around fine run by Mark Harmon. You know, with all these young players, we just can't wait the next year. We know what it's going to be like.
All right, Josh Miller to add the 14th point. 8:16 to go, second period. Low snap, Pruss gets it down, the kick is up and good, and East Brunswick now is out in front 14-0 over Sayreville. I'm going to say something, and obviously I can be accused of being biased or prejudiced, but I will say that based on what we've seen this year, I maintain that East Brunswick is still the best team in the county.
Well,
That is an interesting observation.
that's a hell of an observation. I don't know that they're the best team in the county.
Well, Phil, let me ask you this question.
What?
If Madison Central came into town again, what do you think the outcome would be?
I think it might be different. I really do. I think East Brunswick didn't play their game that game. I think East Brunswick, they beat J.P. Stevens. I think they can beat Madison Central as well. I think when East Brunswick is working on all cylinders, they have far too much balance. They're the most balanced team that you see as far as passing and running. And if they have everything clicking, they can beat most teams.
Well, let me clarify why I said that, and that is the 2 losses that East Brunswick has against Madison Central and Perth Amboy, neither of those teams beat East Brunswick. East Brunswick beat themselves.
Which is all part of football, John.
Yep, no, and I'm not disagreeing with you, Phil, but I mean, if someone came out and took it to them up and down the field, I would say they were thoroughly beaten, but they gave those games away, and that's history. But Josh Miller kicks it off. This is Armetta. And Armetta will be up around the 25-yard line.
Joey DeVita must be the wedge breaker there. He was now in, put his nose down until he found the ball carrier and made a good hit on him.
So the ball spotted on the Bombers 24. They'll have it 1st and 10 with 8:09 to go before halftime. They trail 14-0.
And this is where things can really go wrong for Sayreville. They get down by 2 touchdowns, and they try to get ahead real quick, and usually there's one right there, see? They tend to get rambunctious, John. Most likely that they're going to be going to the air. East Brunswick's going to be expecting it. So I think we can see some more scoring on the Bears' part again.
All right, that'll move the Bombers back 5 yards. That's their 3rd penalty of the evening.
By the way, congratulations to the girls' soccer team. knocked off Notre Dame today in their semifinal playoff game, and I think they're going to have some more state action next week.
Wow. All right, Sayreville, 1st and 15 now. They're on their own 19. A draw play. That's Armetta. And Armetta got to the line of scrimmage.
John Masoni was in on that tackle.
So it'll be a 2nd and 15 for the Bombers.
You know, we didn't mention up top, last year's Sayreville East Brunswick game was really a tough one for the Bombers. They had a 14-0 lead, as East Brunswick has right now, yet the Bears came back to score 3 touchdowns and pull it out in the last quarter.
Clock is running. We're down to 7 minutes before half. 2nd and 14. Sayreville on their own 19. Dole looking to throw. Down the sideline deep. Nice attempt there. Let me see if I get a number. Number 84, that's the tight end, Fulham. Brunig and Oken run the coverage.
Yeah, a real nice attempt. The young man left his feet and almost came up with a terrific catch.
But that puts Sayreville in a 3rd and long. 3rd and 14 to be exact.
You wonder why Sayreville would not go to Jennings more. The reason why, he is normally a running back, but they have him out at wide receiver, perhaps to avoid more contact. He has a knee problem, John, and that's really hurt the Bombers' offense.
Third down. Dole drops straight back. A little swing pass out for Armetta that's over his head. And I don't think that play would have gone anywhere anyway. Flynn looked him right in the face mask.
East Brunswick will get the ball likely in Sayreville territory after this punt.
Well, the only question here is will they reverse or not?
All right, Press and Brunig are back. The dynamic duo, and Lake just gets it off, being pressured. No penalty this time.
I tell you, the Sayreville fans are crying for a penalty flag there, and it was awful close.
The 46-yard line of the Bombers.
The ball was a fair catch, and East Brunswick will have it in Sayreville territory at about the 46-yard line.
John, Rick Okun came in there like he normally does, and I guess the referee felt that the Sayreville kicker held his foot up a little bit longer than normal. He didn't pull the flag.
6:30 to go, second period. East Brunswick out in front 14-0. They have the ball, 1st and 10 on the Sayreville 46, and this is Harmon. Harmon, flag is thrown. Harmon is dragged down at about the 40.
Well, there's some hand clapping on the East Brunswick side, John. You can see the game official talking to Ken Pruss.
The penalty against the Bombers.
I think we're going to have a face mask here, Jim. It's a personal foul against Sayreville.
Yeah, probably some activity after the whistle.
Sayreville's doing a lot of stunning. I mean, they got the linebackers dipping in and dipping out as if they're going to come and go. And it almost appears as if they're throwing themselves off balance.
Right, but you notice it doesn't phase East Brunswick that much. I mean, that's the sign of a maturing team. No matter what the defense throws at you, they stick to the game plan and they are disciplined, and that's why they're meeting with this offensive success, certainly tonight.
All right, that was a 15-yard penalty. East Brunswick has the ball now on the Sayreville 25, 1st and 10. They're blitzing. It's picked up nicely by East Brunswick. Brunig all by himself, touchdown! Forte read it, they blitzed, and Brunig out of the backfield all by himself. 25-yard touchdown pass.
And you're right, Sean. They read it. Again, I just see that as another sign of a maturing team.
Of maturity, that's all that is. Ryan Forte picked it up nicely. All he had to do was lay the ball out there, and Brunig actually had to wait for the ball to come down to him.
I've got Forte, 1, 2, 3, 5 for 6 for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns.
And he's also gone over 1,000 yards, I believe.
Josh Miller puts it through the uprights. No, I'm sorry, he missed it to the right. Looked good from here. Anyway, East Brunswick still out in front, 20-0 with 6:01 to go before half.
John, I got some information on the girls tennis team, which had a fine season this year. They won the Red Division with a 12-0 record.
Wow.
And among the players that were named All-Star, Meredith Hirsch, second singles, was named to the first team, as was third singles Jill Roth, and the second doubles team of Sherry Ackrish and Monica Johnson. Congratulations to the tennis team for, again, having an outstanding season.
12-0?
12-0 in the Red Division.
Wow.
And by the way, that was the first season for Elaine Gerstein, the coach who took over from Bill Pellegrino, who was on the sidelines tonight.
We haven't said much about him, but he gave up something he loved to come back to something that he really loves. He used to coach East Brunswick JVs some years ago, and he came back to this year, and I know Coach Borden was glad to have him.
He is very glad. Coaches are very hard to come by, which I'd like to speak about in a moment as far as Sayreville is concerned, because they have a lot of problem with coaches.
All right, Josh Miller will kick it off to the Bombers. Fine kick. This is going to be Armetta again at about the 5-yard line, right up the middle. Well, he looks like a tank rolling there once he gets going.
Yeah, John Armetta is a Sayreville name. He had a brother, an older brother, who played last year. I forgot what his first name is. Dan Armetta. And that fellow was one tough hitter. But we talked about coaches being a problem. Two of the assistant coaches on the freshman team, Mike Emanuel and Tom Battaglia, are college students. They were not going to have a freshman team this year if they couldn't have gotten those people. Just the simple fact of the matter. Sayreville is having a lot of problem with coaches.
All right, Sayreville, 1st and 10 on their own 33. They trail now 20-0. Hand off inside to Heisey. And Heisey picks up about 8 yards.
Good hard run.
Tell you what, gentlemen, if East Brunswick puts another one up on the board, we're going to see a lot of the underclassmen play in the second half.
Second down now, 2, 8-yard gain.
Down to 5-10. And we'll have a timeout, Sayreville.
With a timeout called by the Sayreville Bombers.
You know, speaking of East Brunswick, and we've given the football team obviously plenty of exposure. In two programs I think we should talk about, and that is the girls field hockey team and the cross country team. And the girls field hockey team with Coach Cindy Grabowski had a fine season, hung in there, and you know, it's tough competition. And it's a sport that's starting to gain momentum throughout the state. And East Brunswick was ranked, I think, around 3rd or 4th in the county by the Star Ledger.
Wow.
So Cindy's doing a fine job, and to those girls, we congratulate them on an outstanding season. And cross country, it's very difficult for us, obviously, at Channel 8 to cover a cross country meet or to, you know, keep abreast of what's going on, but we'd like to extend our best to those team members. And they, you know, they work as hard as the football players or the soccer players, and we wish we could do more. I think you have to be amazed by the overall strength of the East Brunswick High School program. No matter what the sport is, they are up there, whether it's in their own division or on a state level.
That's a fact, John.
All right, we go back to the action, 4:56. The Bombers are facing a 2nd and 2. Dole's going to throw it. Woo! Pressured and taken down. That's Matt Miller. And that's about the 4th or 5th time Miller has been in there.
I'll tell you, he's really come to play today. He really laid it to him, but good.
And that was a key play because Sayreville only had a 2nd and short yardage. Now they're facing 3rd and 8. So it was a very timely sack.
Well, you have to wonder why they would look to pass. Heisey picked up 8 yards. You know, they need to get something going, get that first down, get into close to East Brunswick territory. Anyway, you're right, Jim. They're facing now a 3rd and about 12. And Dole on the draw. This is Heisey. And it really isn't fooling anyone anymore, that draw play.
Well, East Brunswick's disciplined defense, as they had in getting that sack last time. You know, you got to believe that a lot of the one-on-one play by the East Brunswick defense creates gaps for the linebacker to shoot through. You know, those sacks just don't come not only from aggressive play, but East Brunswick creates those opportunities.
I'll tell you, this kid, John Massoni, this is his last game as a senior, and he's playing good ball today as well. He was in on that last tackle.
Okay, Lakin to do the punting. Taking his time, no pressure really. Gets a high kick. East Brunswick will let it bound. And it'll be blown dead at around the 34-yard line.
About the 34-yard line.
So the Bears will have it 1st and 10 with 3:28 to go before half, and with a comfortable 20-0 lead.
John, you take a look at Marcus Borden down there on the sidelines. He's wearing just a sweater. It could be just a balmy September evening as far as he's concerned.
You know, I've been watching Marcus, and for the first time this season anyway, he really seems more relaxed. He's smiling a lot. He's talking to a lot of the players on the sideline. Back to the action. This is Harmon around the corner again. And Harmon puts his head down and drives for another 3 yards. We have a flag, though.
A late flag, too.
Probably a late hit.
I think we're going to have a holding
Okay.
against East Brunswick. Just to finish up on Marcus, he really seems to be enjoying this game. You know, we said it last week, there's really no pressure on the team.
Well, he's probably smiling because he's thinking about next year and the year after.
Rightly so.
It is a hold against the Bears, and that'll move him back.
That flag there is really an unnecessary flag for young players because Harmon is way downfield when that holding took place, and you don't have to hold once your man has gone past the line of scrimmage.
Well, look where the play is being marked off, from the line of scrimmage. Usually on a holding call, it's from the place of foul.
Well, Jim, the rule is from where it hurts the most. So if it hurts East Brunswick more from the line of scrimmage, that's what they do.
All right, so that moves the Bears back to their own 22. It'll be 1st and 20 now. 3:04 to go in the second period. Forte is trying to dump it off to DeVito, and DeVito dropped it. A tough catch.
It was a tough catch, and John, I think DeVito realized with the way the pass was lofted that he was going to get hit pretty quick, so he tried to move upfield before he had the pass. He had the right idea.
It'll be 2nd down.
That'll be 2nd and 20 now for the Bears.
Still a little over 20 yards for the first.
Not a bad crowd, a slow crowd to develop, but on a night like this, with this weather, I give these people credit. Anyway, the Bears in a shotgun formation. Forte has some time looking down the middle. He's got his man, Kruss.
He's going.
It's a block.
He's
Goes
going.
back. Woo! Woo! Kruss, one man, one block. Hoyt gives him a block. He cuts. He's going out of the way.
78 yards, John.
2 fine blocks, one by Dave Novak and one by Hoyt.
What a play. And with that play, John, Kenny Bruss has just set himself in the record book as the all-time touchdown receiving leader for East Brunswick.
And congratulations to Ken, finishing out in fine fashion.
His number 10 for his career.
Great run and some excellent blocking downfield. East Brunswick now in the lead 26-0. And Josh Miller gets back on track, puts the 27th point up. And I think you're right, Jim, we're going to see a number of players now. 2:41 to go before half.
Well, a coach has a conflict. This being the last game of the year, you want to give your seniors all the time they can, and yet if you get way out in front, you definitely got to play a lot of the younger players. But those seniors want to savor every moment.
It's a nice position to be in, though, if you're a coach.
Madison Central is ahead of Stevens.
I want to say one thing before the end of this game, and I hope, for Jimmy's sake, that at one point in the game, Matt Miller takes it up the middle.
Good point.
one of those crucial situations. We see number 46 tonight anyway.
Well, I don't think any situation is going to be crucial anymore, John.
Madison Central leading J.P. Stevens.
Can we get a score on that?
7-0, I believe. Interesting.
Well, Josh Miller's seen a lot of action these last 2 weeks. We'll kick it off once again. When we feel that around the 10-yard line. Nagel with the ball. Nagel will be up close to the 30-yard line, just short.
And on the tackle, DeVito for East Brunswick. It'll be first and 10 now for the Bombers.
Of course, East Brunswick has another kicker, Danny Levine, who has been primarily the JV kick specialist for the Bears. Maybe he'll get a chance to kick one tonight.
Well, I'll tell you, talking to Josh Miller last week, I'll tell you a little later after this.
I'll tell you, if this gets out of hand anymore, Jim, you may be asked to kick tonight. 2:18 to go before half. Dole, a little mix-up in the backfield and had to carry it himself.
Talking about Danny Levine, the young man that kicked the 40-yarder already this year. Josh Miller, talking to him last week, his only concern was that he feels bad because he sees these other teams coming here that really don't have a field goal kicker, and yet they got somebody sitting on the bench behind him that can kick a 40-yarder. He likes Danny Levine, and he can't wait to see Dan Levine get his act together. Get a chance anyway, but he's going to have to wait till Josh leaves.
Clock is running. We're down to 1:40. Dole hands off to Nagel. Nagel will pick up maybe a yard. They'll bring up another third down for the Bombers.
John, the thing that's going through my mind now is the 28 points last week, 27 at this point, and again, East Brunswick seems to be able to score at will. Really setting up a mental foundation for next year. You know, when a lot of these players are going to be back, they're going to know what it is to win, score points, and it just really is just the perfect, you know, opportunity for each one of those players to just get a good mental outlook and think about it during the winter as they prepare for 1987.
All right, the Bombers with a 3rd and 7. 46 seconds remain now. Dole looking to throw, dumps it outside. I don't know if it was caught. It was. That was Fulham with the reception, and a nice catch.
It'll be 4th down. Ball's out to the 32-yard line.
We're down to 18 seconds. This should be it for the first half.
And I think Sayreville is content to just let the clock run out.
They have a 4th and 7, and I'm sure they really don't want to punt this ball. And they're not going to. 2 seconds, 1, and that's it for the first half here at J. Doyle Field. The Bears out in front, 27-0. And the teams will run off rather quickly to get out of this cold weather.
And pardon me while I leave the earphones on to keep warm.
Trying to keep my ears warm.
590-415.
All right, 27-0. I don't think there's really a need for us to analyze this game any further at this point. Let's talk a little bit, though, Jimmy, about what you started to mention here before the end of the half, and that is next year. The Bears, have a young team. Everyone knows that, and a lot of young players have been exposed to the game, with a number of them getting a great deal of playing time. If you had to look to next year, East Brunswick's strengths, East Brunswick's weaknesses.
Well, I think you have to start with Forte, the quarterback. Everything seems to evolve around Bryant and his passing ability. He does have good receivers that are going to be coming back with Joey Giroux and Dave Potter. The linemen they're experienced already. They're going to be coming back. There's not a weak link in the East Brunswick attack. All right, Phil, they seem to have everything together.
I think they're going to be very solid. They got young people all the way around. They got a young man by the name of Dave Clark, who's going to be so hungry next year because he didn't get to play at all this year.
Yeah.
He's a ball player, and I see nothing but good things for him. That's why Marcus Borden is smiling on as he walks along the sidelines.
All right, we're going to try to take a few moments ourselves to warm up before the second half starts, and second half which I think will be able to bring you some new faces to the East Brunswick football scene. And so until we come back, we ask that you stay tuned and watch the East Brunswick High School Band. Everyone quiet. welcome back to second half action. You see the Bears coming in your picture now as they come through the goalpost. They're in the lead 27-0 over Sayreville as we get ready for the second half to begin. Just to recap the scoring, and there was a lot of sparks flying this first half. Started off with Brian Forte hitting Ken Press for 70 yards in the score. Mark Harmon came back with a 38-yard sweep to make it 14-0. Then Bill Brunig was found all by himself for a 25-yard touchdown pass, made it 20-0. And then Ken Press on a 78-yard pass from Forte for the final score of the first half, making it East Brunswick 27, Sayreville 0. Jim, I know you have some stats from Bill Munyon.
Oh, and statistics they are, John. Brian Forte well on his way to his best evening of the year, and he's already had a number of them. But 6 for 8 passing tonight for 197 yards, 3 touchdowns. The 2 long gainers, of course, the 70-yarder in the first period to Ken Pruss for a touchdown, and then on the last touchdown, the 78-yarder. So those are the big plays. Ken also had another pass reception for a total of 156 yards. Jeff Hoyt won for 12 yards, and Billy Brunig, that other touchdown pass, that was a 25-yarder. Needless to say, East Brunswick did not have to run the ball that much, but Brunig had 2 for 15 yards, and Harmon was the primary ball carrier with 5 for 51 yards, including the long gainer of 38 yards.
All right, so the Bears have dominated, to say the least, this game, and we expect to see a number of players now in this second half, and as always, we will try our best to keep you posted as to who's in the game. In the meantime, there's one record was broken tonight, I believe, right, Phil? Ken Press?
That's right. He is the all-time touchdown reception leader for East Brunswick with 10 in a career, and well-deserved.
All right, the Bears will receive, kind of add insult to injury here. Sayreville will kick it off. East Brunswick drops back, Brunig, Harmon, and Pruss. And Bill Lake for Sayreville will kick it off. We're just about ready to go, second half action. Short kick, this is going to be taken by Brunig at about the 12-yard line. He's up the middle, spins, and gets up close to 45 and crosses the 45, actually. So East Brunswick will start off with good field position.
Patented Bill Brunig spin.
Patented Bill Brunig spin, you're right.
John, if as we go along here, Charlie King was nice enough to give us a listing of all those former East Brunswick football players who are in attendance tonight. I'll try to read them off as we go along.
All right, it looks as though that Marcus Borden will start off with his first unit offense. DeVito and Harmon are in the backfield. And Forte looking for Pruss, who was all alone, just overthrown.
Second and 10.
If I'm not mistaken, Pruss is close to another record, some 15 yards shy of total yardage, maybe?
Correct, John.
All right, it's second and 10 for the Bears, the ball on their own 45. We've just started the third period at J. Doyle Field. Forte looking to throw, being pressured, and he's going to be dropped. The ball pops out, and it's recovered by Sayreville. So as we started the game with a turnover, here we start the third period.
I'll tell you, that's the first. I think that's the first time I've seen Brian Forte cleanly sacked in a play. Usually the guy grabs hold of him and he twists him off or something like that, but that's the first time that he's been cleanly sacked.
Quickly, before we start play, Don Allback, class of 82, Vic Angeline, class of 74, Dave Baskowski is here, class of 81, and Dan Baskowski also, class of 81.
All right, this is Dole, a handoff to Nagel, and Nagel will pick up about 2 yards. Bring up a second down for the Bombers. Go ahead, Jim.
We have Dennis Beloff, class of 1973. Mike Book, who graduated last year. And Tom Zapp, who played in 1975.
All right, the Bombers, 2nd and 7. Ball on the East Brunswick 34 following the fumble recovery. Dole hands off. This is Heisey.
With the ball again.
To continue, Paul Flynn, class of 1970. George Hines, class of 72. John Hurley, 1982. Darwin Jones from last year's team.
All right, Sayreville with the 3rd and 5. This is Heisey with the ball. He's got the first down.
Takes it off the right side for first down.
I tell you, if he had a little more speed, he could have popped to the outside and took it.
Yeah, there was a big hole there.
Billy McNiven, a player I remember, class of 79, is here tonight.
Quarterback.
Yeah, Andy Mueller, class of 85.
Ball is on the East Brunswick 26, 1st and 10 for the Bombers. They trail 27-0. 3rd period action. Nagel spins his way for about 6 yards.
John, I thought Sayreville got away with a back of motion there.
I'll tell you, it looks like Milt Theodatus has had a few words to say to his team. I mean, this is the next to last game for his team, and he's told them to try to gain some respect and come out here and play ball.
Right, very important that they have a semblance of respect as they prepare for South River.
A little dig in there, Jim? Or?
No, nothing intended.
Oh, okay. 2nd and 2. Number 45. I don't know who that was. First down for the Bombers.
Okay, Anthony Ranzio, class of 83. Someone we know, quarterback from last year's team, Mark Rodelbraun is here. And Rich Ruskowski, class of 83. And Bill Wayland, 1981. Rich Wayland, 1971. And John Williams, 1969.
I remember John. Dole hands off.
Run off the left side of the Bears.
And thank you, Charlie King, for providing that information to us.
That was Nagel on the carry. Nagel picks up 3 yards, and Matt Miller in on the stop.
It'll be 2nd down and 7.
So Sayreville facing a 2nd and 7, the ball on the East Brunswick 11, and this is their deepest penetration into East Brunswick territory. We have 8:10 to go in the 3rd period, and Sayreville trails East Brunswick 27-0. Dole, straight dive play, the ball is fumbled, and East Brunswick has it.
The Bears have recovered it.
Well, there you go. It's the same situation.
Rob Schaefer with the fumble recovery.
Yes, John, same situation that Sayreville has become very familiar with. Moving the ball, getting down close, and then coming up with the turnover.
Rob Schaefer with that fumble recovery puts himself in the lead for the team for this year with 3 fumble recoveries.
There's our man Phil on top of the stats.
All right, the Bears 1st and 10 on their own 12-yard line. Forte hands off to DeVito.
DeVito with the ball.
And DeVito may have gotten back to the line of scrimmage.
Well, Sayreville was ready for that, and that again is patented East Brunswick. They'll spread you wide to one side and run back to the short side, and anybody that's scouted East Brunswick now probably knows that they'll do that, and they're pretty much ready for it. At least Sayreville was that time.
It'll be 2nd and 10.
Let's give DeVito the benefit of the doubt and say he got back to the line of scrimmage, and let's call it 2nd and 11. 2nd and 10, rather. The ball is on the 11. This is Brunig. DeVito again. I saw a 2 flash. I didn't see the second one. And Joey makes a better showing of himself on that play.
Chuck Smith in on that tackle for the Bombers.
So it'll be 3rd and 4.
It'll be 3rd down.
The ball is around the 17-yard line.
Ball is located on about the 17-yard line of the Bears.
Brunswick still has their first team offense in. Forte looking, pumps. He's got Pruss again. Pruss makes the reception over
catch.
Jennings.
What a catch.
What a catch.
I'll tell you, it's just beautiful to watch. You had Brian Forte have Kenny Pruss go into the sideline, so he was covered, waved him up down the field, and then got the pass to him. Just a beautiful all-around play. What can you say? And with that catch, Kenny Pruss becomes the total yardage leader for East Brunswick.
Right. That was good for 33 yards.
All right, so gives the Bears a 1st and 10 on their own 44. Looks as though Marcus would like one more before he changes troops. This is Brunig. Nice hole, good block by DeVito. Brunig is gone.
There he goes.
Billy, second touchdown of the evening. 56 yards.
That's Brunig for a touchdown, taking it from the 44-yard line to a 56-yard line touchdown.
Boy, Billy turned on the speed that time, John.
He did. I tell you, most people, Marcus Borden is smiling again, but most people are like we are. We tend to follow the ball, but there's been some tremendous blocking tonight.
Some of the finest blocking we've seen all season.
Dave Novak threw a great block earlier, and just now we saw another great block.
That was DeVito on the block. And so East Brunswick is now out in front 33-0. And Josh Miller will try to add to that lead. Kick is up and no good, wide to the left.
That kick is off to the left.
So the Bears are out in front 33-0 with 6 minutes and 10 seconds to go in the third period.
John, that's the second time this year that East Brunswick has scored into the 30s column, the first time being against Edison, I believe.
Yards. Gaining. Passing.
Fine run.
Fine run and a fine pass play to set that thing up.
A fine series of downs, that's all.
East Brunswick will now kick off to the Bombers.
Allow me an observation, John and Phil. You know, when you see Forte throwing the way he is, you just sort of tend to look for any way he can improve. Phil, I've noticed that maybe on occasion Forte will do a little telegraphing. It seems that as soon as the ball was snapped, he knew he was going to throw to Ken Pruss and just waited for Pruss to run his route and just deliver the ball to him. He has that ability. I'm wondering if he's going to be able to get away with that in the future.
Well, he won't do it in the future because with time he'll grow. You got to remember, Jimmy, he's still young, but he's going to get much more mature, and he's going to get his secondary and third receivers.
Yeah,
he has plenty of them, John.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of time before Brian learns to look off a receiver and develop those type skills. But obviously his physical skills are there. All right, Josh Miller with the warm toe for sure tonight. Fine kick. This is Nagel at the 5. Whoa, he's tackled DeVito. Meets him at the 15-yard line and labels him.
Joey DeVito smacked him, but good.
Yeah, I think that Sayreville player has a number 22 on his jersey now.
On his forehead.
Good aggressive football. Good aggressive, clean football.
And so we will watch to see if East Brunswick starts replacing some players now.
It'll be 1st and 10 now for the Bombers to close on the 15.
All right, the Bombers 1st and 10 on their own 15. Dole, this is a handoff to Armetta. And Armetta, fine run, tackled by Bill Brunig, and Brunig was the last man there for a moment.
A little fire plug can scoot.
I'll tell you, a good run by the Sayreville running back, but Bill Brunig played off a block and made a great tackle. If this young man could have got to the outside, if he had any speed, he could have been gone.
That was Armetta on the carry, 1st and 10 now at the 38-yard line of Sayreville, and gets him out of a big hole, but the much larger hole is the score, 33-0 East Brunswick. Dole looking to throw. Looking to the outside for Jennings. Oken has the interception. Oken fighting his way. Fine effort. Rick Oken. His second interception in as many weeks.
And I tell you, Rick Oken with that interception places himself #1 for the year with his 3rd interception. So he's the leader for East Brunswick this year in interceptions.
And Borden's still not willing to call off the troops yet. Forte coming in again.
You know, they came very close to roughing the passer. The official stood right there, but he did not choose to throw the flag.
All right, so Marcus Borden still has his first unit in. I'm a little surprised, quite honestly. Anyway, handoff up the middle.
You know, you have to feel for the Sayreville team on the other side of the field there. They're getting their heads bashed in, to be kind about it.
That was Dave Goldstein, Jim, excuse me, on the carry.
I'm sorry, John.
Well, we see Mark DeBello going in.
Badallo comes in for Forte.
I think he heard you, John.
And we have some new running backs. That's Perez and Goldstein. Badallo's the quarterback. And he's going to throw. Being pressured, gets it off. Almost intercepted by Jennings. He was looking for 37, Ed Jimenez.
Pass was intended for Jimenez, number 37. Incomplete, 3rd down and 8.
So we will close out Brian Forte's stats at, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 for 10. And add another 33 yards on Pruss's pass reception to the 197 he already had.
Well, if he's gone for the day, I got something to say, and I'll say it a little later.
3rd and 8 for the Bears. They're on the Sayreville 46. Badallo pitched to Goldstein. Goldstein will pick up maybe 2 yards, bring up a 4th down.
Look at this.
Wholesale
4,
changes.
6, 7, 8 players coming in for East Brunswick right now.
Wholesale changes. And I repeat, it's sort of tough. If this was a game in the middle of the year, then that's the thing to do. You got to remember, this is the last game, and it's, for a lot of these kids, they still want to play. They want to savor the very last game. They probably preferred that it was longer so they could be in there.
That's about the first. I'm sorry, John. Go
I'm
ahead.
trying to see who's the punter.
That's Levine.
That is Levine. Nice punt. Takes Jennings back to the 10-yard line. Jennings is stopped at around the 16. That was Perez down here in the bottom of the pile.
Wow, we knew Dave Levine could do kickoffs and field goals, but he can also punt too, so they got a punter in the future as well. Well, they're going to have a punter anyway because Ryan Forte is going to be around.
And so is Josh Miller, if need be.
I think maybe we ought to start talking about what is East Brunswick going to have to replace.
I don't think much, by the looks of it. All right, Sayreville, 1st and 10, the ball at their own 17-yard line. Ooh, hard hit there. That's Armetta. Tough runner for Sayreville.
And John, that is the first line defense in there. Except Badallo, I see he is playing defense now.
Well, that was Holcomb on the tackle, I believe.
Okay. All right, now some more changes taking place.
Well, as John Madden would say, those two guys went paint to paint. Now bringing a 2nd and 3 for Sayreville. And this is Heisey. Heisey has the first down.
You got Mike Witt on that tackle there.
Heisey with the ball off this side.
Kevin Maloney is in there at defensive back.
Jim, I would say that if Sayreville had a passing game, they would be a much better team because obviously they can run the ball, or they appear they can run the ball. And they're just missing that second component or that complement, and that's the passing game. All right, 1st and 10 for the Bombers on their own 30. Straight up the middle goes Armetta.
It'll be 2nd down and 8.
2nd and 8 for the Bombers. Dole to Heisey,
Hand off into the right side.
and Heisey won't get much. We're down to 1:27 here in the 3rd period, so a fast-moving quarter.
Thankfully.
75 showing.
With this weather, we're kind of praying for that running game.
I think also we want to get this game over with before the score gets too out of hand. It already is 33-0.
We have a timeout. There's a Sayreville player down. While we have a moment, I'd like to just mention that once again the East Brunswick cheerleaders have been at every game, as one would expect, and they've done a fine job, and very talented bunch of young ladies and young men.
Yeah, that's a first. They haven't had young fellas cheerleading in the past, have they?
Yeah, it's something new, and I should say they're coached by Kathy Ambrosi, who is the wife of Dave Ambrosi, who helps us here in doing the games and is a major reason why we can bring you these games here on Channel 8. Fine job by Kathy and the cheerleading squad. Yeah, there are a lot of people we need to thank for making this all possible, starting with Charlie King, the athletic director, Mike Plumby, his associate, and I'll get back to some of the others. But we're down to a minute now, 3rd period, a 3rd and 7 for the Bombers, and Dole keeps the ball. He'll be short of the 1st down. Just to pick up, I mentioned Mike Plumby, who has been a great help to us. Outside of the athletic department, there are many people at the library that we need to thank, starting with Dave Lyle and Kevin O'Rourke. In particular, we always thank and we're beholden to Pete Canamessa and Dave Ambrosi, our technical people here who do the camera work and sound for us. So a lot of people behind the scenes that have given up their time and put a lot of effort into us bringing these games to you. All right, Sayreville will punt on the 4th down. And a good kick. And the Bears will let it settle down. And it'll be just short of the 30-yard line.
First down and 10.
We'll have time for one play, John. 8 seconds left in the quarter.
I tell you, John, you're talking about all those people that really help. I tell you, the most pleasant individual connected with East Brunswick that I've met this year is George Penfield, the guy who does the play-by-play. Just a pleasant fellow each time you meet him.
All right, and that's the end of the 3rd period. The Bears in front, 33-0, and they'll start off the 4th period. But just to pick up on what you said, Phil, George was a coach here at East Brunswick, football coach. He coached the JVs. And one of the top coaches around, believe me, knows the game in and out. An interesting thing, George was a teammate of Fran Tarkenton at the University of Georgia.
Is that right?
Yeah, very good friend.
Just a nice man.
George knows football in and out, and if it weren't for a medical condition, I'm sure he'd still be on the sidelines. But he does a fine job here at East Brunswick.
He really does.
And Bill Munyon, who's provided us the stats all year. Just an excellent crew of people that have supported us. And I must say that for me, it's been a real pleasure to work with both Phil and Jim this year. We've had a good time, and the insight that you guys have brought to the game. And I should tell the people that you two gentlemen do a lot of research before the game, and I greatly appreciate it, and I think our fans do. All right, the Bears, 1st and 10 on their own 36. Badallo with the pitch to Goldstein. And Goldstein's dropped back about 3 yards, so he'll lose some on that play. And you're right, we're trying to fill time. The 33-0 game, it's tough. But we're glad to be able to bring you some of the other players that you may not have had a chance to see during the season. First and about 13 for the Bears. Ball resting at the 25, their 25. Badallo looking to throw, is being pressured, and he's going to be dropped.
Badallo with the ball, it's called for a loss. And on that tackle, Pat Kill.
You know, East Brunswick, I think, fully expected to make the state playoffs this year, John and Phil. They didn't. And we find now that this is the last game of the season. It's really only the middle of November. We have about 3 to 4 weeks before the beginning of the basketball season and the wrestling seasons. So there's going to be a lot of time to get in shape.
Third down and a handful play, but whistle blown. I think we're going to have a penalty.
Jim, you're talking about the approaching basketball and wrestling season. What a job Super Knopp did last year. Frank Knoppenberger.
From South River, right?
But what a job he did last year.
Yeah, he did. He coached that team to the state semifinals and hung in there for a while against Camden.
#1 team in the country.
Yes.
All right, that was a procedure call against the Bears, so it moves them back to about the 12-yard line. First and let's call it about 25. A draw play. And that play, quite honestly, didn't go anywhere. In fact, I think they lost about 2 yards on it. So it'll bring up a 4th down, and East Brunswick will turn it back over to Sayreville. 10-17 to go in the game.
And of course, a lot of the people who played for that basketball team will be back this year. Time allows, we'll talk a little bit about them. And Borden is calling timeout.
I think Marcus just wants to be sure everyone understands the situation, and they're trying to protect a shutout. I'd like to finish the year with a shutout.
Well, these are many of the young men that he's going to be walking out there talking to next year. He wants to get them used to seeing them coming out there and saying something to them. It gives them a good feeling at this point in time. And speaking of Marcus, he's done a tremendous job this year. A real good job with a real young team.
Give a lot of credit to that assistant coaching staff, to the coaching staff for the Bears.
And we have to say that coaching staff has been quite supportive of us. They've made themselves available to talk about the team, about the players. And so as we throw out our thank yous, we need to also include them. I have to say this, guys, it must be getting cold. Pete Canamess is breaking out the chicken soup.
And it doesn't look like he's going to share any either.
Except he's chipping away at it, so. Okay, we have a 4th down punt situation. Dan Levine in. And he gets a nice high kick.
That was a fine kick, John.
Fine kick, about 45-yarder from where Dan kicked it.
Good tackle.
That was Fallick with the ball, and he was dropped by number 48 for the Bears. And I don't see a number.
28, John.
Oh, 20, I'm sorry. That's Brian Donahue.
I'll tell you what, young Mr. Levine is showing me something with his punting tonight.
Boy, what a luxury as a coach to have 2 players that can kick like that.
Try 3. Remember Josh Miller?
Oh, that's right. That's right, John.
That's right. They got 3 fine punters and 2 fine field goal kickers.
All right, we have a timeout on the field. Player shaking up a little bit, number 42 for the Bears. That's Senk Ugar. But he walks off, and Phil Hostler's talking to him, so I think Senk's all right. Let's hope so.
I like that name.
Okay, Dole. This is Armetta. Armetta. He may go. And he's just taken down at the 5-yard line.
Looks like the official marked him out of bounds at the 15, John.
Okay. He stepped out at around the 15. You're right, Jim. So the shutout's in jeopardy anyway. And Sayreville has pride, let's face it, and they want to put that ball in there. The 9:07 to go, they're trailing 33-0. But as Phil said, they have a Thanksgiving Day meeting with that big, tough South River Ram team. All right, 1st and 10 for the Bombers. At the East Brunswick 15, this is Heisey. And Heisey bulls his way inside the 10-yard line.
About 5 yards.
Pickup of about 5.
And on that tackle was Huber.
I haven't been able to confirm with Charlie King the schedule for next year. We do know that the Bears will be playing their Red Division opponents, and I believe East Brunswick will be going down to Cherokee for its opening season game.
That's correct.
And hopefully we'll be there. This is Armetta.
Run off to the left side.
And I'll tell you, he's a load to bring down.
Well, he's built kind of like Joe Morris, if I can use that analogy.
Please, please.
Little grab, built low to the ground, and utilizes that ability real well.
Well, Tony Dorsett's built low to the ground also.
So am I, but that doesn't there's no comparison. All right, Armetta brings it to the 5-yard line where Sayreville will have a first down, I'm trying to see here, second down they have showing, second and about 1.
Right, you have to pardon Phil if he seems a little impatient with me. The Cowboys are on a 2-game losing streak.
Well, the Cowboys are right where they are every year at this time, 6-4, and they always end up in the playoffs. So what's new?
Okay.
I can't talk, I'm a Miami Dolphin fan, and there's not much to say about them this year. There's a timeout on the field.
That's Milthea DeSatis on your screen, talking to his team.
Not much you can say when you're down 33-0.
Well, except, John, they do want to get this score in.
Sure. And you mentioned, Jim, they are a young team, and this is a sense of pride and an accomplishment, if nothing else, and it may be something they can look to next year. This is Dole on a keeper.
Dole on a keeper play off to the right side.
They get the first down, John.
He's got the first down, and he's going to come up to about the 2-yard line. So it'll be first and goal for the Bombers with 8:04.
And I think the crowd is, by the way it's filing out, is pretty much determined the outcome of this game.
All right, the Bombers trying to put one over. Dole on a quarterback keeper, and he scores. So the Bombers get on the board with 7:34 in the 4th period. Make the score now 33-6. It was a well-executed play.
Yeah, well, I think he probably faked everybody out. It looked like it may have been an actual play, but he decided to keep it and just walked around the left end. Nice play.
Dole's a junior. Good size, 6 foot, 185 pounds.
Right, and he fortunately got the opportunity to get in and play when Kukowski went out after about the 3rd game. So has the experience now to build a foundation for next year.
All right, Sayreville will go for 2. Dole keeps, pitches back, ball is fumbled, and that'll be it. No need to advance it.
That's right.
And so Sayreville unable to convert on the 2-point conversion, and that'll leave the score. East Brunswick 33, Sayreville 6, and East Brunswick will receive.
Mark Flynn out there grabbing the ball. He never know. He did the right thing now. Pick that ball up. Well, let's see who we have back here with Goldstein to return the ball.
That's Brent Babick. 25, 28 is Bryant Donahue. So that's a completely new cast in there, receiving the ball. Not sure they're going to try the reverse on this play.
Babick, number 25, Goldstein, number 23.
All right, Lake, an onside kick.
Oh, and they recovered it.
I think Sayreville has it. A lot of commotion down here. We'll see as they unpile.
It appeared, John, that Sayreville man grabbed that ball as he disappeared in the pile.
It bounced off Gene Kammerer. And I don't know if Gene was able to fall on it or not. The officials are trying to determine now. And it's Sayreville's ball.
They did recover, I tell you. Well, in hindsight, I guess it would be the thing to do, and but for some reason, even while we set up here, we didn't expect them to come with that. Maybe because we felt the game was long gone.
You know, if I'm not mistaken, I think the kicker, Bill Lake, is the one that recovered that onside kick.
Well, it actually bounced off in East Brunswick's a man's hand after it went 10 yards, and that's why he was able to get in there on the ball.
All right, 1st and 10 for the Bombers at the East Brunswick 46. And Dole will pick up about 3 yards.
Oh, Dole looks like he's going to try to be a one-man show against this 2nd and 3rd unit of East Brunswick.
I was thinking the same thing, Phil.
And I'm wondering why they're not using Jennings more.
Well, basketball season is right around the corner. Maybe the basketball coach had something to say.
No, I don't think they're saving Buddy for basketball.
All right, 6:35 to go in the game. The Bears out in front, 33-6, but Sayreville has just recovered an onside kick and has a 2nd and 7. Dole looking to throw and just not able to get the pass off. Ron Perez was in his face. He takes a very short drop and he's thrown off the back foot, never squares the shoulders to the receiver, and very difficult to throw a ball in that position.
Right.
So 3rd and 7 now for the Bombers. And the ball is dropped by Heisey, kicked around, and I think Sayreville will have it. In all fairness, it is getting very cold. That field is like a rock. The ball is, as Phil said, is like a brick. And Sayreville will call a timeout. They actually picked up about 3 yards on the play.
Well, I'm searching for something unique about this year's team. I don't know how wonderful this is, but this is the first time that the Bears have finished the season on a winning note in 3 years, and that's something to be said in preparation for the next year.
Now with the timeout, all right, so Sayreville will resume the action with a 4th and 6, and Dole drops straight back, thrown deep down the field. It's going to be picked off.
That's Badallo.
Badallo has it,
Oh gosh, he had some room on this side.
and Badallo will be wrestled down at about his own 43, but East Brunswick will have it.
He will be slung down, John. Jimmy, you're right. Seems to me if the young man would have kept coming to this side, he had a lot of, had some good blocking over here and a lot of room, but nevertheless, a fine interception by him.
And another Sayreville player is down. That's the 3rd one tonight.
And when you have broken field running like that, a lot of things happen. A lot of players are targets from to get hit from way back, and I think that's what happened here.
I'll tell you, as you look at the young Sayreville player getting up, the one thing that Marcus Borden has been able to avoid this year is injuries. We haven't seen many of his players go down at all.
And that's Jennings, by the way. He's limping very gingerly on that knee.
Spins into the line. Brought in by Philip Davis. It'll be 2nd and 8.
Here we go, John.
Okay, I think I'm catching Phil's cold here. Oh, Badallo
Face mask.
swarmed. Yeah, there's going to be a face mask. Boy, they jumped all over him, though. Before Mark could even set up, they were on him. But it'll be all for naught, as we're going to have a face mask against Sayreville. Personal foul.
And the band has taken the cue and left along with the crowd. And we have a few isolated drummers down there doing their thing. A rather spirited young fellow playing the clarinet.
They must be underclassmen.
There they are.
Some of the diehards. All right, the Bears will have a 1st and 10 on the penalty on the Sayreville 47. Badallo fumbles the ball, and the game's getting a little sloppy now. 4:40 to go.
Give it to Sayreville, John.
Sayreville will take it. At this point, no one wants it.
Well, if you can bet your bottom dollar, Sayreville's going to try to score on this young team.
And pardon me, gentlemen, while I put the blanket around me.
All right, Sayreville, 1st and 10 on their own 49. That's Armetta.
Now fumble.
Let's see if I think they've blown it dead, Phil. Phil, let me ask you, Marcus Borden now over the winter and spring, and obviously the summer, has plenty to think about. Do you make changes based on the players you have, or do you basically stick with the game plan that worked so well for you this year?
Okay, I'll answer that, John.
2nd and 7 for the Bombers. Big hole, number 45, and we don't have that individual in our program, so I don't know who it is for Sayreville.
I tell you, John, what they're going to have to do is to have a true championship team. They're going to have to get the young fellas to understand that everybody has a responsibility, and they're going to have to play wherever he says play. They have an awful lot of talent stacked at the same positions. But if you're going to be a true championship, you're going to have to contribute to the team wherever it is necessary, and that will get them into the state finals for the next 2 years if they're willing to do that.
Good point. And you're right, they have so much talent that some people aren't going to play at their preferred positions. Heisey, a quick pitch and then a shovel back. A little razzle-dazzle here by Sayreville, and it worked well.
Wow.
Yeah, John, that's the play they used twice last week to score against Stevens.
It's sort of give and go.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
With the ball, brought down by Badallo. It'll be 1st down and 10.
We should get a shot of Jim Allinder here, wrapped up in a blanket. And a handoff.
I'm ready to go back to the studio, John.
A few more minutes. We're down to 2:42 in the game. East Brunswick out in front, 33-6. As East Brunswick will finish up the season 6-2-1. And a fine season. You could always look back at the Madison Central and Perth Amboy games, but as we pointed out several times, they're a young team, and young teams make mistakes and get beat because of those mistakes. Here's Dole over the middle, right in the hands of Heisey, and he dropped it.
Right, John, that was Sent Ugar, who was the one that tipped that pass.
That was the best pass that Dole threw tonight.
Well, it was a good pass, and it's like my old coach used to say, it hit you in a bad spot, hit you right in the hand. So the young man couldn't hold on to it.
You can touch it, you can catch it.
That's what they say.
.217 left. Dole to Armetta. No, Dole still has it. He pitches back and pitches it out of bounds, actually.
I think that ball was booted out of bounds after the ball carrier had fumbled the ball.
He's looking for Nagel, but Nagel wasn't looking for the ball.
fourth down
So
and about 9 for the Bombers.
they've picked up a yard on the play, surprisingly.
John and Phil, this is the first game, I believe, that Josh Miller has not attempted a field goal.
You're right.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jim. Keen observation.
Well, look for number 84 here. They're going to try to pass. They got to pass, and maybe the tight end going down the middle.
Fourth down, 4th and 9. They pass out to Fulham. He pitches back to Heisey, but it's not going to be enough for a first, and East Brunswick will take over. And for all practical purposes, that should end the game.
Kevin Maloney making a good tackle there. They got a first down.
Now they're going to measure, Phil.
I
They
thought he
shouldn't be
was,
signaling.
Okay,
they
okay.
are.
Yeah, right.
I thought he was short.
Ball will be located on the 9.
I think they want to get the game over with because it's cold. They didn't want to take the time to measure.
Down to a minute 50. Sayreville looking to get their second score of the evening. This is Armetta with the ball, and Armetta's close to the goal line, but he's short, and a timeout will be called. Sayreville, and I think that's their last timeout.
Thea DeSantis taking the timeout to ensure that his team has enough time to call a couple plays and then get it over. It looks like a player is down also.
Another Sayreville player down.
That's Armetta, by the way. Or no, is it 33?
I can't pick it up, Jim.
Yeah.
Let me see. Maybe Dave can zoom in on it. Yeah, it is Armetta.
It's like they're looking at his knee.
I remind you of the special police that surround the area. Please follow their instructions. They will guide you out of the parking lot.
All right, so as the Sayreville player is being attended to, we've come a long way, gentlemen, from that first game with Cherokee to this game here.
That's the truth.
A lot of things come to my mind in this 15-degree weather. I'm thinking of that Brick Township game where we all went down there. It was about 90 degrees temperature, 90% humidity, and then we had that thunderstorm.
Yeah, well, I don't think we'll forget that for some time.
Right.
I know Phil won't.
I certainly won't.
Of course, we didn't bring the game, but that disappointing loss to Perth Amboy really put a damper on this whole season. And I think, like you said, John, it can't though create such a disappointment about the season.
All right, Sayreville trying to push it in, and they do. Touchdown. That was number 45, and again, we don't know who that is. I think it's Mike McCormick. But the Bombers come up with their 12th point of the game with a minute 30 to go. You know, the nice thing for me, having covered the team this year, is to watch them grow, to see the discipline come about, to see their patience, to see the development of players like Brian Forte and Mark Harmon, Joe DeVito, Matt Miller, the line play led by Larry Novak. Sayreville, 2-point conversion. It's a pitch. Heisey will walk it in, and so it'll make it 33-14.
You know, Kevin Maloney's going to come to the sideline there, and I'd be surprised if a coach doesn't grab him. All he's going to tell him is say, listen, when that play's coming there, you got to keep your head up. If you keep your head up coming in there, you'll make that tackle. He made a fine effort, but you got to keep your head up and put your nose in there.
That's a good point, Phil, because, you know, even though despite the score, despite the time,
You still want to coach.
That's right, because that pointer can
Help
come
a young
through for
fellow,
you.
right.
That's right. Well, we may see Sayreville attempt another onside kick.
Very likely.
Jimmy, speaking of onside kick, do you recall any particular year where an underdog team kicked 3 onside kicks in a row to beat another team?
For you people who can't remember 1965, New Brunswick was one of the best teams in the state, and South River did it to them then.
Well, East Brunswick recovers that onside attempt with 1:26 to go.
Phil, that was one of the most humiliating losses, I think.
3 times in a row.
It was in front of a Rutgers Stadium crowd of about 20,000 people.
Yeah.
And I guess the thing about it was that New Brunswick knew it was coming each and every time, but it was just executed so well. Who was the kicker, if I can answer it? Was Skarzinski?
Wally Jaw Mula.
Okay.
Wally Jaw Mula.
I know the fans aren't interested in New Brunswick football, but I think what was also added insult to injury was the fact that the coach, Ron Wojcicki,
right.
Yeah, had been an assistant at New Brunswick High, had gone over to South River, and we were just totally shocked.
Well, Marcus Borden and East Brunswick calls a timeout. I can only guess at what he's talking to him about, but again, he's a few pointers.
Well, again, it's a team of the future, and he's getting them to get a feel for being around him and giving them pointers. The little pointers at this stage of the year will carry over to next year.
Now I see Potter's back in there, okay. Of course, he was recovering from a broken nose. And number 85, I really like the way he's been playing this year.
Dave Potter?
Yeah, he hasn't caught a lot of passes, but he's run good routes. He's a good target, and I think he could turn out to be one of Forte's prime pass catchers.
And Kevin Maloney's at quarterback. He pitches to Donahue.
Donahue with the ball run out of bounds on this side.
And while Donahue didn't pick up any yardage, he showed a little quickness there, Phil.
He did. Sayreville just strung it out well.
So he stops the clock with 1:13.
Ooh, we have a slow-moving last 2 minutes here.
Second and 10. Ball close to midfield. And for Jimmy's sake, this is Matt Miller up the middle.
Way to go, Matt.
No, actually, it was Dave Goldstein. But I had to do that, Jimmy, just to keep you smiling through the winter, summer, spring.
Oh, we're up enough to smile about, John, watching the winter sports and the spring sports teams.
I look forward to it, and I hope that the people who have followed us through the football season will stay with us through the winter season and join Channel 8 and Sports Talk as we bring you some of the winter sports. Here's Goldstein again, slips, he's down actually, and he took a hit, but his knee was down.
And number 7, Jason Ellison, rather aggressive tackle, and he's been playing it up as if this game is still on the line.
I'll tell you, Goldstein was going for something there. I know what he's about to do. He's about to turn the opposite way and come completely back around, but he lost his footing.
Okay, we're going to see another opportunity for Levine to kick. Borden calls timeout again, or is it Theodosatis?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, I think Milt's probably called a timeout on that. He wants to give his team one more opportunity to get the ball back with 21 seconds left.
I don't know about you guys, but I cannot feel my feet.
I can't either. I have 3 pairs of socks on.
What feet?
That sums it up. I'll tell you, the person probably the warmest is that student in that bear uniform.
That's Steve Mintz. You know he's warm.
Okay, Levine, fine kick. Wow, outstanding. Nice and high. It's fumbled by the Sayreville player. Picked up in a hard hit. Number 91, Mark Flynn, and number 73 for East Brunswick, Bob Zimmerman.
Good hard
a sophomore
tackle.
and a junior.
Yep, good hard tackles in there.
10 seconds left.
For the Bombers. Ball is located on their own 26-yard line.
And there goes the clock.
And that should be it. And for the seniors, it's been an outstanding season, outstanding career. And they deserve the appreciation of the fans. And a good season for Marcus Borden and his staff.
Be careful leading the stands. mind where you're walking. Follow the instructions of the special police around the stadium.
All right, the players are meeting out at the center of the field as is customary in the GMC. The final score, East Brunswick 33 and Sayreville 14. Again, not much that you can say in way of a game. East Brunswick dominated. But I think we can touch upon a few things as we close out this game anyway. And that is, we really have seen East Brunswick develop. We've seen a maturing process, a process that I'm sure has to please Marcus Borden, the staff, and the fans here at East Brunswick. And I know the three of us look forward to next season with great anticipation as to what these sophomores, will be juniors, can bring to this field.
Right, John, I'm very, very pleased to have been a part of this team this year and just watch this team grow. A lot of talented people have done an excellent job. And I'll go back to watching Brian Forte. In all the years that I've been covering high school football, he stands out in my mind as having the potential of being the best yet. And nothing like seeing a young, talented individual, very intelligent player, develop and watch him go along. So we're looking forward to that.
Okay, Phil?
Well, it has been a great year. We said from the beginning of the year that the very first show that the best is yet to come. And that's very true, but we want to give credit to the Rob Schaefer's, Rick Okuns, Dave Novaks, and all those seniors that, Kenny Pruss, that really played their hearts out this year. They played with very young talent there. They had to be the leaders, and they had to carry this team, and they did it to a 6-2-1 record, which is a fine record.
Outstanding.
So it's been a good year.
Okay, we close out our football coverage for the 1986 season with a win, East Brunswick defeating Sayreville 33-14. And we ask that you stay tuned for our post-season wrap-up show, which will feature obviously Jimmy and Phil and myself, to talk a little bit more about the season and some of the individual players. So we'll be back with you in about a minute. Well, welcome back for our post-game and post-season review. And as you can see, we're in a much warmer environment. Jimmy and Phil, you guys look a little better a few moments ago when I saw you.
Much better.
I think the best place to start this show anyway is to, in terms of a wrap-up, is to kind of pick up where we left off at the beginning of the season, and that was with what we thought East Brunswick would finish in terms of a record. Jimmy, I believe you were at 7-2. That was your prediction, and Phil 6-3.
Right.
And I said I kind of felt strongly both ways, so I think I'm the winner in a sense, but we were all very close.
Mm-hmm. John, I think that 20 years from now, when you look back, or when people look back at the season, they're going to see 1986, 6-2-1 record. Pretty good season for East Brunswick. But what they're not going to see is the fact that they didn't qualify for the state playoffs. Mm-hmm. And I think we all agreed that, this was really a fine club this year. And I have to go so far as to say the last three games, the win over Stevens, Cedar Ridge, Sayreville, maybe was one of the best three-game stretches in the history of East Brunswick football. And we can attribute that, of course, to a lot of reasons, and I'm sure we'll bring those up.
Phil, you made an important point before we started the season. That was, you said to the people, listen, don't be disappointed if they do finish 6-3. This is a young club. Still feel that way, I'm sure.
Again, 6-3 would have been a great year for the type of team that they had. They finished 6-2-1, which is great. It's a shame that they didn't make the playoffs. You said earlier this evening that you felt that they were the best team in the county, regardless. And I sort of disagreed with you somewhat, but they are one of the better teams, and they are a team that should have been in the state playoffs.
Jimmy and I last night or tonight rather, was with Marcus and talking about the game and his season. And Jimmy and I noticed he was like a cat on a hot tin roof. I mean, the season was over, the game was over, and yet he was pacing back and forth, talking about different teams. They still had a chance, and so forth.
It was really interesting, Phil. We were in the locker room with Ken Pruss, asking him about the future for him as far as college is concerned, and Borden sort of prowling around the locker room, making wisecracks, but he was wound up. Not the type of coach you would think is willing to wrap it up for the year. And as a matter of fact, I asked him, I said, when are you going to start your program for next year? And he says the day after Thanksgiving. That's when they get into the weight conditioning program and things like that. We both agree that this is a fella that is really primed, biting at the bit, and would really love for the season to continue.
Well, we said again at the beginning of the year that the best is yet to come. Yeah. And Marcus Borden knows that, and he's going to be very excited about getting on for the next year and the year after that. Mm-hmm. They got great potential. I think the only thing that they have to really develop, the people in the skilled positions are excellent. They have to get the young people, Suffolk Connage, Gene Cameron coming back again a year, Sean Smith, D. Giovanni, Dave Clark, and some of those young people are going to have to really work hard in the off season to make sure that the front line and the defense is going to be tough in those areas. If they can do that, they're going to have a great combination with the skilled people that they have.
And the other thing you said during the game tonight, and that was some people, some players are going to have to play positions they might not want to play if they had their choice.
Well, Coach Borden's in a good position because he has people, so much talent at so many skilled positions there. But if you're going to have a championship team, the coach is going to have to make some of the young players understand, listen, we're going to count on you for this position. It may be a defensive position, and you're going to have to play that. If they're going to have as much balance as possible if they're going to have a championship team. Naturally, if someone should get injured, then they can always count on that other person to come in. But they're going to have to sacrifice for the team if they want to be a state championship team.
We talked about them maturing again throughout the game. And I think for me, looking back on the way back to the studio, I think the game that really solidified my thinking about this team was the Edison game. When they seemed to put it all together. They were passing at will, running at will, the defense was playing tough. And then unfortunately the following week against Perth Amboy, they had that loss. But what I saw on that field at Edison really said to me that this team's a powerhouse, and they've got all the tools.
John, the game that I look to is J.P. Stevens. They were coming off the Perth Amboy defeat, and it was deflating because it essentially meant the end of their chances for the playoffs. And for a team to come out the way it did and play, and let's take a look at J.P. Stevens. We now know that they defeated Madison Central. I think it was 35-14, so they are the top seed in the Central Jersey Group 4 playoffs. They are two-time defending champions. No one has beaten them this year. As a matter of fact, East Brunswick was the team that snapped a 17-game unbeaten streak. I don't think we can lose sight of the fact of what an accomplishment it was for the Bears to play, and I think they beat them fairly well. We know there were a couple of touchdowns that were called back. It was that game in which the team really believed in themselves. It came to the point where they believed in themselves. I think it set the foundation, which we saw in Cedar Ridge and tonight against Sayreville.
Yeah. Phil, any thoughts on a game that stands out for you?
Well, I go back to the first game, really. Cherokee, I think it was very important. You remember Cherokee was rated so very high in the state at that time. East Brunswick coming in with a terribly young team at the time. We had talent, but we didn't know how they would fare on the varsity level. And I think coming out of that game with a tie really set the standards for the rest of the year. I think if they would have got beaten up good in that game there, those young players wouldn't have been as confident to realize that they could play on the varsity level. But playing the way they did, I think it carried on through the year and was a cause for the fine season that they did have.
Yeah, we talked last night, or tonight rather, about the weaknesses or strengths of the team, and we really couldn't identify any true weaknesses. But talking with Marcus tonight, he's noted the fact that we need to get that speed burner on the outside to maximize Forte's skills and to open up the running game and everything else. And I thought that was an interesting point. Here we kind of had thought they look good and solid, and not that they don't. But, you know, Marcus, as the coach, is looking to say, yeah, but if we could get that one guy who can burn, it's a new dimension, obviously.
Well, they have they have that one guy and maybe two guys and three guys that can
wanna
do
go on,
that.
Phil?
I would like to be in his position. I think this off season again is the key. How these young fellows are going to prepare themselves, and the competition that they're going to have among themselves for various positions is going to be a crucial point. They got speed burners. They got people that can hit that outside. Mark Harmon is probably going to be one of the finest speed burners in the state before his time overs. Joey DeVito can turn on the speed burners. Matt Miller isn't slow neither. So I think it's a matter of perhaps putting it more into the game plan. And when you got a quarterback like Brian Forte, who has established himself, that's going to open up anyway.
Go ahead, Jim.
John, I have some stats that I compiled on the way over here regarding Forte for the season. He finished with 89 completions and 166 attempts, which was a 53% completion average. That was good for 1,133 yards.
Wow.
He completed 9 touchdown passes, 3 of which we saw tonight. A sophomore quarterback. I'm sure the people are out there getting tired of us talking about Brian Forte, but it is just so rare, Phil, you'll agree with me on this, that you get a fella with this type of talent, physical size, intelligence, and then the poise that he displayed during the course of this season. We saw him grow. Each game was a learning experience for him.
And Jim, let me interject something too. The fact that he's a sophomore is one aspect. The other fact is this is only the second year he's really played organized ball. He was in the soccer program, if I'm not mistaken. So he didn't come up through the Pop Warner ranks that I know of anyway. And so really, second year of organized ball. It's not that just the second year of varsity experience, but it's really amazing, and I agree with you.
I went out on a limb. I guess it might have been about the 4th game of the year, and I said, let me be the first to say it, that this kid, Brian Forte, is going to be one of the best quarterbacks ever in this area here. I've seen some young quarterbacks as sophomore. I saw Joe Theismann, I saw Drew Pearson, saw Kenny Jackson, I saw Mickey Dustle and a few of these other quarterbacks when they were sophomores. Brian Forte has the skill to match these guys, but he has much more strength. None of those quarterbacks were as strong as Brian Forte is. So when you put that combination together, coaches already, anybody that's looking at films, where they come to look at a film of Kenny Pruss or so, they're going to see Brian Forte. And when they find out that he's a sophomore, they're going to stay on Marcus Borden's door.
Okay, Jimmy, I know you have some more stats.
Yeah, I'll just finish this up real quick because I know we want to talk about Ken Pruss a little bit. Kenny did, by the way, break some records, I believe, as far as pass receptions, 10 touchdown receptions on the course of the year. And then Mark Harmon finished with 500 yards rushing for a 5-yard average, and Billy Brunig had 400 yards for a 6-yard average. Gosh, you had two prime runners. We know DeVito is going to be used a lot more next year. Matt Miller is going to be there, hopefully to go over for a touchdown from the 1-yard line. What a tremendous sense of skill that you can call on in those positions. And I think it's something we ought to mention here is that if somebody gets hurt, there's going to be somebody to fill in, and East Brunswick will not drop off.
Two things you mentioned. Sense of skill, it also is a sense of balance. I mean, it's a well-balanced team. And something that we noticed this year, and although I don't recall saying publicly on the air, but in our discussions before and after games, East Brunswick really did not suffer any rash of serious injuries. So those sophomores got plenty of time to play. They were healthy for each game. And that's a credit to Marcus Borden and Phil Hostler and the conditioning program that East Brunswick employs. But really, they didn't lose anyone with any major. Dave Clark, that was a knee injury, but from what I understand, he's a sophomore, yeah. But he could have come back for the last couple games. It was decided that rest up that knee and get ready for next year. So, that's what depth can do for you. Plus, that may have been the only really debilitating injury they had this year. Jimenez broke his wrist, but he was back.
Observation regarding the line. I think you pointed it out, John, that perhaps one of the major weaknesses during the mid-season was the inability of the East Brunswick line to open up holes for the running attack and also defensively to keep the line. We saw that against Perth Amboy where Brian was running for his life. They really bounded back in a big way, and you know, with a lot of young players on that offensive and defensive line. That is another critical key to the puzzle, which East Brunswick is going to put together in their drive for the Red Division GMC.
Jim, why don't we take a moment and just read off some of those names? And
Sure.
It's
Okay.
only fair that, you know, we tend to look at the skill positions and we're calling the Harmons, the DeVitos, the Fortes, and yet those guys up front really came along and opened up some gigantic holes for those running backs,
Right.
and gave Brian the kind of protection he needed.
And of course, the front line was built around Larry Novak at the top as the center and also the middle guard, and then he was flanked by it was Scott Brenowitz and Ted Pazinko. This was on the defensive line, and a good move by Marcus Borden in resting some of these players. These were all seniors, by the way, and allowing some of his younger players to go on the offensive line. Of course, we had Anthony DiGiovanni was in there, Gene Kammerer, Don Sofoconic, let's see, and then of course Sean Smith, and a host of people who saw a lot of playing time in the last two games because of the scores being what they were at halftime. So these are just some of the faces. Gentlemen, you may remember more. I might be missing some. I just took some time very quickly to underline a few of the people that stood out in my mind as having done good jobs, and especially the younger kids. They're going to be the basis for a good team in the future.
You know, I said one game, and I don't know if it was a Cedar Ridge game, but one of the people in my mind, one of the players who was an unsung hero was Rob Schaefer. Every time you looked at a quarterback from the opposing team who was being rushed or tackled or pressured into running out of the pocket, 33 Rob Schaefer was there.
Well, Rob Schaefer led the team in several categories. One of them was in quarterback sacks. Another one, I'm not quite sure whether it was fumble recoveries or what, but he was right up there in a number of categories. I pointed out later that he was certainly one of the most aggressive guys on defense. We saw him really rack some players, but the seniors really came on. You got Schaefer, you got Rick Okun, who really came on strong. He did a fine job. I just like the way he plays. And of course, Dave Novak did a fine job. So there's, you know, there's a number of young men that played really well.
You mentioned Ken Press, and as we know, Kenny is being highly recruited by a number of Division I schools. He's considered a blue chip, as they call him, player. And now that the season's over, he has probably a more important decision to make, and that is deciding which school he should attend. And I know, Phil, you've been through it, your brothers have been through it, you saw Drew Pearson go through it, and that can be awfully difficult on a young man.
It can be a real harrowing experience. First of all, it's much more pressure than they ever receive on the field. You got coaches coming around, talking to you, really trying to sell you on coming to their school, telling you that you'll get some playing time, you'll get this, that, and the other. And you're right, Kenny Press and his family are going to have to make a decision. I think, personally, the whole Division I prospect is really overplayed. I think we make youngsters feel that if they don't go to Division I, we make good ball players feel that if they don't go to Division I schools, then they haven't made it, and that is wrong. I mean, they have to think about what school may be best for them. We've seen in Middlesex County just this past year a number of athletes, including our own Steve Hughes, who has gone to Division I school, not worked out. The kid from Piscataway, the big fullback.
Wainwright.
Eric Wainwright.
Wainwright. He left Penn State. You got the other kid from Franklin.
Tony Roberts, is it? Darren Roberts.
Darren Roberts, who's out at Penn State, but he's maybe third string running back or something like that. So you have to make a decision. Coaches come in and they sell you a bill of goods, but they don't tell you that they also are bringing in 4 and 5 All-Americans in the same position for you. And it can be rather disillusioning for a young man. And then if you get like Steve Hughes, the coach decides to leave or the coach is made to leave, then you're sort of left there with someone that doesn't have a commitment to you.
John Marcus made the observation last night that the majority of the Division I scouts pretty much nailed down who they are going to look at during the kid's junior year. So if Kenny Press was being dubbed as a Division I player, a lot of people knew about it at the conclusion of his junior year. So the senior year is mostly just observing, watching, and solidifying, reconfirming a lot of the perceptions that they had about the player. John, I know that you have been involved in some ways in counseling prospective college student athletes.
Yeah.
You have some good thoughts on this thing.
Yeah, Jim, I've been doing it for about 8 years, and the problem that you run into is that you're talking about a young person, whether it be a male or female, who is an athlete, has generally had much success throughout their life at this point. They've been, you know, the top player on the soccer team or the Pop Warner team, the high school team, so forth. They're recognized as being good athletes. The parents know it. The coaches have known it and have pushed them, to, you know, obviously to succeed. And you have a lot of people who have built-in biases for that person. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I think in the situation of a Ken Pruss, Bob Rushnack the year before, I think what really is needed is that someone, a third party, if you will, who doesn't have any baggage to carry in terms of that athlete, be brought into the process and can look objectively at the needs of the student, the needs of the parents, and what is coming in terms of these coaches, these Division I offers. Because there's so much that's involved beyond just the sport, you know, continuing playing football, for example, in Ken Pruss's case. It's, you know, what type of academics, what type of school environment are you looking for? What would you like to do in school? My feeling has always been, and I've always counseled the athletes I've worked with, that if you're good whether you're on Division I, II, or III, and it's going to show. The main concern is that after 4 years, do you have a degree? Have you expanded yourself to a point where you can go out into the real world, whether it be professional football or business world or the teaching world or whatever, and have those skills that you need? And I've seen too many athletes get caught up in the circus atmosphere of being recruited. And it's tough for the parents to be objective. It's tough for the athlete to be objective. And let's face it, when you have a Joe Paterno come to your house, or a Lou Holtz, or you know, the coach from Nebraska, you're overwhelmed. Any of us would be.
Certainly.
And you need someone who can keep and separate out some of these extracurricular activities and keep that athlete focused on his principal goal and help that athlete develop that goal and his needs and articulate them. It's a tough process, and my only suggestion would be to athletes, and that no matter what the sport, is to look and search for someone you trust that can be helpful to you as a third-party source. So, and we wish Ken Pruss the best, obviously. It's a tough decision. How about any other players you see out there that we saw tonight and throughout the season that could play college football, regardless of level?
Well, there's a number, certainly a number of football players that can play college football. And again, I think Ken Pruss is probably the one that comes to mind for Division I. Above and beyond that, honestly, I don't see anyone else that really might be selected for Division I.
Of course, we're talking seniors.
We're talking about seniors,
Yeah.
but Division II, there's certainly a number of players that can play, and
Dave Novak, I think, is one.
Dave Novak, and depends on the school wherever you go. You have Okun, you have
Dave or Larry?
Was it Larry?
Larry.
Novak? Okay,
At center.
Yeah, all righty. One of the Novaks is being touted for an Ivy League school. I confess to the boys out there, we don't know who it is, but I think Marcus mentioned one of the Novaks was certainly in a position where he could play because of his academics. Also, if we're allowed to talk about juniors and sophomores, that just sort of opens the door for any number of players. Sophomore class.
Well, 2 years, anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen, but we have to agree that maybe this is the best sophomore class that East Brunswick has ever had in terms of football players.
Well, I would agree as a graduate of the high school, and I've been following him since around '62, and had the good fortune of seeing Phil play with some of those South River teams, and Dave Wall, and some of the other good athletes that came out of East Brunswick. I would say overall, as a class, this is probably the strongest sophomore grouping, and not only at football. I think you're finding them gymnastics, soccer, cross country, tennis. I mean, they're sprinkled throughout the program, the athletic program. So I think collectively as a whole, the next 2 years are going to be quite exciting at East Brunswick High School. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Well, just can't wait till next year to see how well these youngsters do. And like I said, if they're prepared to work hard over the summer, and the guys that aren't known right now, they need to realize that this next year and the year following, they're going to be championship caliber teams. Mm-hmm. And if you want to be a part of that, then they're going to have to develop themselves to contribute to it as well.
Jim?
A little twinge of regret that the Bears did not qualify for the playoffs, nor did they win the Red Division. These were primary goals that Borden set up, but a good feeling about what's in store for the future. I think we are going to be watching some of the best football that's going to be played in the state of New Jersey next year already, with Forte at the quarterback and the kicking game. We've made the observation tonight about what a quality kicking game there was, the running backs, the line. We go on and on and on and on. I am genuinely excited about the prospects for East Brunswick football in 1987.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am too, and I really ditto your thoughts. I do want to say something before we close out, and that is a number of people have stopped me, and I'm sure you guys, about, you know, the coverage of the game and so forth. And I think we need to explain something, and that's the technical aspects. We do these games with one camera. We do not have the technical capabilities to run 2 and 3 cameras at a time. In fact, we do the game on tape. So it's not that we can switch from sideline to sideline and do all the fancy things that you may be used to watching at home at a college or pro game. Second of all, we have no spotters. We have no statistician to speak of, and the stats we get, Jimmy keeps by hand, or Bill Munyon is scratching out for us. And so we've tried our best throughout the season to make it as professional as possible and as entertaining as possible. And I think the real objective is to show the kids, and that's what we've tried to do. And yes, throughout the course of the year, we've called a few numbers wrong, we've missed a few names, and it's not intentional, and we're trying our best. And for those athletes that we didn't get to, I'm sure over the next 2 years we'll be calling their numbers and their names, and we'll be doing the same kind of thing for them.
John, if I can interject, I think a lot of the credit for bringing this whole thing together has to go to you as the play-by-play man and keeping us in line when we need to be. And just, I don't know, I guess it was almost an aura that was over top of us that solidified this whole thing, and I want to thank you personally for allowing me to be on this year.
I appreciate that,
Oh,
Jim.
most important, it's been fun.
That's it.
We've had a lot of fun, I think. You know, we had a chance to observe the team and give comments, not always correct, but we get a chance to do that. So it's been a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, and the thing is, we're fans. Mm-hmm. We're just like the husband and wife are standing out in the stands with their children on the playing field. I mean, we get excited and we're screaming in the microphone, and we're biased. Let's face it. I mean, we want to see East Brunswick win. We're in tune with the players, and it has been a lot of fun. And I hope that Channel 8 will be able to continue not only our football coverage, but continue this expanded coverage that we have going, and particularly into the winter. So up next, gentlemen, basketball and wrestling. And I know you guys aren't hot on the wrestling aspect, but
Wait a minute. I can't
in
say
terms
that.
of announcing. Or,
Oh, okay, because I really enjoy wrestling.
Well,
I have come to know
wrestling is probably the most exciting
It can
as far
be.
as getting your blood going
Oh,
sport
yeah.
as any
Oh,
there is.
really? And I think we can talk about the quality coaching that East Brunswick
Oh.
has with Jimmy Young and Greg DeMarco.
Yeah.
I've worked with these gentlemen for years. They just put the program together in such a fine way. And of course, Frank Knoppenberger with the basketball program. You know, the juice is already starting to come up again.
Well, before you know it, we may be together again to do the basketball. Anyway, Phil and Jimmy, thank you so much. It's really been my pleasure to work with you guys this year, and it's been a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And to all those out there who have stayed with us here at Channel 8, followed the games, who have called in to say how much they've enjoyed it, we thank you, and hope that you'll stay with us for the winter season and be back with us again when we start the fall next year for the East Brunswick High School Bears football team. So for Jim Allinder and Phil Hill, I'm John Meggiolaro saying thanks for being with us.